Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yathapana Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Cha Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurum Idam Yena Tasman Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Guruganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Varaktanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Guruncha Divyad Bhagavat Premna Vibija Pranam Devam Devyatanam Suchandabaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sarika Varanam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Bandetam Shubharam Marika Sharanam Yashishwara Sridharam Vanshakopatarubyasya Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamananyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratabhishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 6, the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And I'll start with verse number 257. Sarvabhauma Prabhur Bhakta Ekatan Mahaprabhur Seva Bina Nahi Janayan. Indeed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became an unalloyed devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not know anything but the service of the Lord. So when Mahaprabhu later goes to South India and he returns after having met Ramananda Roy, he tells Sarvabhauma, I have been to South India, the place of the Acharyas. So many Acharyas came from South India. Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Shankaracharya, so many. It's known as the place of the Acharyas. And when Mahaprabhu came from South India, he said, I have come back from South India, but I have not met any devotee like you, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Srila Govinda Maharaj said that Mahaprabhu was praising his own creation. Mahaprabhu actually said, I have not met anyone like you, anyone substantial like you, with the exception of Ramananda Roy. He is very special. But Govinda Maharaj commented how Mahaprabhu is praising his own creation because he was the one who made Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya into an unalloyed devotee. Indeed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became an unalloyed devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not know anything but the service of the Lord. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sachi Sutta Gunadam Dhyana Japa Loy Nam. The Bhattacharya always chanted the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, son of Mother Sachi and reservoir of all good qualities. Indeed, chanting the holy names became his meditation. And this is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sachi Sutta Gunadama. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sachi Sutta, the son of Mother Sachi, and Gunadama, the reservoir of all good qualities. So he's chanting this, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sachi Sutta Gunadama. Dhyana Japa Loy Enam. The Bhattacharya always chanted the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the son of Mother Sachi, and the reservoir of all good qualities. Indeed, chanting the holy names became his meditation. Ek din Sarvabhauma Prabhu Age Aila Namaskara Kore Shloka Parite Lagila. One day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after offering obeisances, he began to recite a verse. Bhagavater Brahmastaver Shloka Parila Shloka Sheshe Dui Akara Patafirala. He began to quote one of Lord Brahma's prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam, but he changed 2 syllables at the end of the verse. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano punjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvag vapurbir vidadam namaste jiveta yo bhakti pades sadayabak. The Bhattacharya recited, "One who seeks your compassion and thus tolerates all kinds of adverse conditions due to the karma of his past deeds, who engages always in your devotional service with his mind, words, and body, and who always offers obeisances unto you, is certainly a bona fide candidate for becoming your unalloyed devotee." The Bhattacharya recited, "One who seeks your compassion and thus tolerates all kinds of adverse conditions due to the karma of his past deeds, who engages always in your devotional service with his mind, words, and body, and who always offers obeisances unto you, is certainly a bona fide candidate for becoming your unalloyed devotee." So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has changed 2 syllables of this verse. When reciting this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya changed the original reading from Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade. Mukti means liberation and merging into the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Bhakti means rendering transcendental service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of having developed pure devotional service, the Bhattacharya did not like the word Mukti Pade, which refers to the impersonal Brahman feature of the Lord. However, he was not authorized to change a word in Srimad Bhagavatam, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will explain. Although the Bhattacharya changed the word in his devotional ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve of it. So he changed the word. From Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade. But Mukti Pade also refers to the service to the lotus feet of the Lord. So Prabhu kohe Mukti Pade iha pata hoy Bhakti Pade kene pad ki tomara ashai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately pointed out, in that verse the word is Mukti Pade, but you have changed it to Bhakti Pade. What is your intention? Bhattacharya kohe Bhakti sama nahi mukti phao Bhagavad Bhakti Vimukera Hoy Danda Keval. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, "The awakening of pure love of Godhead, which is the result of devotional service, far surpasses liberation from material bondage. For those adverse to devotional service, merging into the Brahman effulgence is a kind of punishment." So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is previously an impersonalist, and he argued with Mahaprabhu, quoting from the Sharirag Bhashya of Shankaracharya, now he cannot even tolerate the word mukti. He's thinking it's impersonal liberation. So actually in this verse, that's not the real meaning, as Mahaprabhu will explain, but it's interesting because you see the change in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. This chapter is the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he's liberated in the sense that he's become an unalloyed devotee of Mahaprabhu. That is his liberation. And the actual mukti or moksha or merging with the impersonal Brahman, he can't even stand that idea. Bhattacharya kohi bhakti sama nahi mukti phao Bhagavad Bhakti Vimukhera Hoy Danda Keval. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, "The awakening of pure love of Godhead, which is the result of devotional service, far surpasses liberation from material bondage. For those averse to devotional service, merging into the Brahman effulgence is a kind of punishment. So he can't even, Sarvabhauma, before he is always arguing on the basis of Shankaracharya's impersonalism, and now he cannot tolerate the idea of impersonal liberation. That's the idea. Krishnara vigraha jay satyana himane jay ninda yudadika koritarasane se duera dandahoy brahma sayuja mukti taramukti falanahe jay kore bhakti. The Bhattacharya continued, the impersonalists who do not accept the transcendental form of Lord Sri Krishna and the demons who are always engaged in blaspheming and fighting with him are punished by being merged into the Brahman effulgence. But that does not happen to the person engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Sarvabhauma is saying, impersonalists, they merge into the Brahman effulgence, and demons who are killed to the Lord, by the Lord, they also merge. So both are punished by being merged into the Brahman effulgence, but that does not happen to the person engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Jajapi se mukti hoy pancha parakar salokya samipya sarupya sharshti sayuja ar. There are 5 kinds of liberation: salokya, samipya, sarupya, sharshti, and sayuja. Salokya means that after material liberation one is promoted to the planet where the Lord resides. Samipya means remaining an associate of the Lord. Sarupya means attaining a four-handed form exactly like that of the Lord. Sharshti means attaining opulences like those of the Lord. And Sayuja means merging into the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. These are the 5 types of liberation. Salokyari charijari hoy sebadwar tabu karachit bhakta kori angikar. If there is a chance to serve the Lord, a pure devotee sometimes accepts the Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, or Sharshti forms of liberation, but never Sayuja. He's saying, a devotee of the 5 kinds of liberation can accept liberation if it's conducive or if it helps him in his service of the Lord. But the devotee will never accept Sayuja liberation of merging with the Lord, merging with the effulgence of the Lord. Sayuja shunite bhakter hoy grinad boy naraka banshaye tabu sayuja naloy. A pure devotee does not like even to hear about Sayuja Mukti, which inspires him with fear and hatred. Indeed, the pure devotee would rather go to hell than merge into the effulgence of the Lord. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has sung Kaivalya Narakayate, the impersonalist conception of becoming one with the effulgence of the Lord is exactly like hell. Therefore are the 5 types of liberation. The first 4, Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, and Sharshti, are not so undesirable because they can be avenues of service to the Lord. Nonetheless, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna rejects even these types of liberation. He aspires only to serve Krishna birth after birth. He is not very interested in stopping the repetition of birth, for he simply desires to serve the Lord even in hellish circumstances. Consequently, the pure devotee hates and fears Sayuja Mukti, merging into the effulgence of the Lord. This merging is due to an offense committed against the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and therefore it is not at all desirable for a pure devotee. Brahma Ishware Sayuja Duita Prakar, Brahma Sayuja Hoite Ishwara Sayuja Dikar. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, there are two kinds of Sayuja Mukti, merging into the Brahman effulgence and merging into the personal body of the Lord. Merging into the Lord's body is even more abominable than merging into his effulgence. Those are two kinds of impersonal liberation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says there are two kinds of Sayuja Mukti, merging into the Brahman effulgence and merging into the personal body of the Lord. Merging into the Lord's body is even more abominable than merging into his effulgence. So there is that also, merging into the Brahman and then also merging into the body of the Lord. And Sarvabhauma says that merging into the body of the Lord is even more abominable, even less chance of coming out of that situation. Salokya Sharshti Samipya Sarupyai Katpam Apihuta Diyamanam Nagrinanti Binamat Sevanam Janaha. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya concluded, even though he is offered all kinds of liberation, the pure devotee does not accept them. He is fully satisfied, engaging in the service of the Lord. So this is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's conversion. Before he is an impersonalist. Now he can't even stand hearing the word mukti or liberation. He wants to change the verse of the Bhagavatam from Mukti Pade in reference to the Lord to Bhakti Pade. But Mahaprabhu says you can't change the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can't change the verse. Prabhu kohe Mukti Pader, Ara Arto hoy Mukti Pada Shabde Sakat Ishwara kahoy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the word Mukti Pade has another meaning. Muktipad directly refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Muktipade jara se Muktipada hoy, kimwa navama padartha, muktira samashroy. Muktipadi jara se Muktipada hoy, kimwa navama padartha, muktira samashroy. All kinds of liberation exist under the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is known as Muktipad. According to another meaning, Mukti is the ninth subject, and the Supreme Lord is the shelter of all liberation. Lord Sri Krishna is also known as Mukunda, or he who gives transcendental bliss by offering all kinds of mukti. Srimad Bhagavatam is divided into 12 cantos. And in the 9th canto, different kinds of mukti are described, but the 10th canto is the actual center of all discussions of mukti, because the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is the 10th subject discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam, is the exclusive subject of the 10th canto. Since all types of muktis reside at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, he may be called Muktipad. Dui arte Krishna kohe kene pata firi, Sarvabhauma kohe o pata kahite na pari. Since I cannot understand Krishna according to these two meanings, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what point is there in changing the verse? You don't have to change. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, I was not able to give that reading to the verse, because he could not understand what Mahaprabhu is saying originally. When he heard from Mahaprabhu, of course, he could understand. But before, he says, I was not able to give that reading to the verse. Therefore, he didn't like to hear the word Muktipade. Jajapi tumara artha e shabda koi tatapi aslishya doshe kahana na jai. Although your explanation is correct, it should not be used because there is ambiguity in the word muktipada. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, all right, I accept your reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but of the word muktipada. Although your explanation is correct, it should not be used because there is ambiguity in the word muktipada. There's some ambiguity, cannot necessarily easily get that direct meaning. So Sarvabhauma is now he's so fanatic, he can't stand to hear even the word mukti. Jajapi mukti shabdir hoy pancha britti rudi britye kohetabu sayuja pratiti. The word mukti refers to 5 kinds of liberation, but its direct meaning usually conveys the idea of becoming one with the Lord. Mukti shabda kohite mane hoy grina tras. Mukti shabda kohite mane hoy ta ulas. The very sound of the word mukti immediately induces hate and fear, but when we say the word bhakti, we naturally feel transcendental bliss within the mind. And we say, the very sound of the word mukti immediately induces hate and fear. But when we say the word bhakti, we naturally feel transcendental bliss within the mind. Shunyahasan Prabhu Anandita Mane Bhattacharya Koila Prabhu Drida Lingane. Upon hearing this explanation, the Lord began to laugh and with great pleasure immediately embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya very firmly. Jai Bhattacharya Pade Padaya Maya Bhade Tara Ainche Bhakya Sware Chaitanya Prashare. Indeed, that very person who had been accustomed to reading and teaching Mayavad philosophy was now even hating the word mukti. This was possible only by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lohake javat sparshi hemanahi kore tabat sparsha mane keho chinite napare. As long as it does not turn iron into gold by its touch, no one can recognize an unknown stone to be a touchstone. As long as it does not turn iron into gold by its touch, no one can recognize an unknown stone to be a touchstone. Touchstone changes base metals into gold. So as long as that stone is not used to change metal into gold, you cannot know it's a touchstone. But once you see the effect of that stone, then you know what are its properties. So, by association with Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was changed from being always talking and reading and speaking about Mayavad philosophy to hating the word mukti. So, the idea of this verse, Lohake javat sparshi hema nahi kore, tavat sparsha mani keho chinite napare. As long as it does not turn iron into gold by its touch, no one can recognize an unknown stone to be a touchstone. But when they see the effect of changing into gold, then everyone can tell. Bhattacharya Vaishnavata Deki Sarvajan Prabhu Ke Janila Sakat Brajendra Nandan. So this is the effect of Mahaprabhu, like that touchstone. He can change the hard-hearted or iron-hearted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya into a golden devotee. Bhattacharya Vaishnavata Deki Sarvajan Prabhu Ke Janila Sakat Brajendra Nandan. Upon seeing transcendental Vaishnavism in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, everyone could understand that Lord Chaitanya was none other than Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Kashimishra Arijata Nila Chalabasi Sharana Loyla Sabe Prabhu Padayashi. After this incident, all the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri, headed by Kashi Mishra, came to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was known as the high priest. He's the Acharya, but he's converted from being a follower of Shankaracharya's impersonalism, Sharirag Bhasha, into being an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. And after this change, everybody in Jagannath Puri recognized who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's the Lord himself, and now they all wanted to take shelter of him. But what will the Lord do? After this incident, Mahaprabhu will go to South India. He just arrived in Jagannath Puri. And he promised his mother he would stay there. But he takes the opportunity first to go to South India. The reason he gives is he says he's looking for his brother. Vishwarup was dear to all the devotees, but then he took sannyas and became Shankararanya, and Mother Sachi and the devotees never heard from him again. So then Mahaprabhu actually wants to convert all of South India into devotees. Before, they were all followers of Lord Shiva and impersonalists, followers of Shankaracharya. They're impersonalists, they're Shaivites. Mahaprabhu would convert them all to becoming devotees in every place he visited, and it spread this wave of devotion in South India. But he gave the reason externally. He wasn't going to say, I'm going to South India to convert everyone to Vaishnava. He said, no, I'm going to look for my brother. We haven't heard from him. We want to find out. Kashimisha Arijat Nilachalabasi Shanana Loyla Sabe Prabhupade Ashi. After this incident, all the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri, headed by Kashi Mishra, came to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So many of them would just have to practically, literally wait in line till Mahaprabhu would come back from South India. Say sab kata age koriva varnan Sarvabhauma Korirache Prabhura Sevan. Later I shall describe how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya always engaged in the service of the Lord. Jaichi Paripati Kore Bikanir Nirvahan Vistariya Age Taha Koriva Varnan. I shall also describe in full detail how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya perfectly rendered service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by offering him alms. That means by offering him alms means by offering him food. Alms. In this case, offering alms means by inviting Mahaprabhu to eat at his house. E Mahaprabhu Lila Sarvabhauma Milan Ihache Shradakori Koraye Shravan Jnana Karma Pasha Hoite Hoy Vimochan Achire Miloye Tare Chaitanya Charan. If one hears with faith and love these pastimes concerning Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's meeting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he very soon is freed from the net of speculation and fruitive activity and attains the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. Sri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishnadas. First, E Mahaprabhu Lila Sarvabhauma Milan Ihache Shraddha Kore Koraye Shravan Jnana Karma Pasha Hoite Hoi Vimochan Achire Miloye Tare Chaitanya Charan. If one hears with faith and love these pastimes concerning Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's meeting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one very soon is freed from the net of speculation and fruitive activity and attains the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. Sri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, 6th chapter, describing the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So that's the end of this chapter. Very nice chapter. No, this is chapter 6. There's, 20, 25, yeah, something like 25. So we're just beginning in Madhya-lila. Now we have to hear about Mahaprabhu's going to South India, Mahaprabhu's going to Vrindavan, and all this. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatham Mananamon Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Janardan Shiva Sadi Kora Bhaktivedanta Gopala Bhatta Dasa Ranguna Echai Gosai Jar Mui Tarana Kasamar Para Renu Mora Panchaga Sevi Bhakta Saniba Janame More Amira Echai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Koilaba Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakam Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridharaju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parabhajakacharya Statara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Kshira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavad Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Vishvabaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sri Kaladvip Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan. Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo Ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari